Yeah, I want a big boy hold the Dunyons with a Mighty Man's fries, and for my soda, just give me the old standby and a 20-hit combo on my Clucker Bites. Just between me and you, I would appreciate some extra Bumperton's Delight if you catch my drift.
48 minutes of dogs barking, 48 minutes of dogs barking, 48 minutes of dogs barking, 48 minutes of dogs barking. Growl! Growl! 48 minutes of dogs barking, 48 minutes of dogs barking.
All right, everybody. Welcome to 48 Minutes of Dogs Barking. I'm your sultry host, Brian, and I've got my big boy over here, Jason.
Yeah, we
Jason,
are.
you got a haircut. I just noticed.
Yeah.
Wow, you're looking like
Go
like
on.
a mail bomber. Like if I saw you like dropping a package in front of like the Post-Dispatch, like brown bag with like twine wrapped on, I'd be like,
Yeah?
man, I gotta call.
I
gotta call those boys down now.
see something, say something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a real just like
It's the see something, say something haircut. Yeah,
like,
I just
like if I saw you in a Nissan Maxima, like looking sweaty when it's cold out.
yeah. There's
He
something.
did something,
going on.
officer. He did. I don't know what he did, but look at him.
Yeah.
Like, you got a haircut.
I did
You got a
indeed.
haircut, and you're playing your first felony.
I am, but that's a whole nother. All I can say is hotel. Anyway, anyway,
What's this, Jason? Your manifesto? Limiting the iframes in a Soulsborne game is a heresy?
yeah, essentially, yeah. We had a really fun Christmas in June. Thank
Yeah.
you for hanging with us and enjoying our four wonderful guests. And I think that's a yearly tradition that's worth doing.
Yeah,
it's kind of fun.
it's fun. Is this supposed to be Christmas in July?
It originally was, but then we booked June of last year, and I was like, well, let's just keep it going.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's whatever. If it works, it works.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed all of those. Those went better than last year's, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm pretty happy with that. I really enjoyed having
Gosh, what a wide variety of guests.
Devin,
yeah.
Ed, Casey,
Thor
and
Jensen.
Thor. Just really just had fun with all of those. We're lucky. We're lucky boys here in the Midwest.
Indeed.
We're Midwest princesses.
But, we're also doubly lucky to be here on the day before 4th of July, just hanging out in the Tower Grove Chalet, just the two of us. And boys are back in town, is all I'm saying.
The Classico.
So there's a lot of political stuff in the front half of this show, and for that I apologize. But, boy,
It can't be any worse than watching The Daily Show.
it really can't. One thing that has caught me really off guard was Ken Klippenstein points this out. My timeline is full of people saying they're coconut pilled and pod save types calling for Biden to step aside. Weirdest week in politics I've seen. Now, we didn't talk a lot of politics during our Christmas in June, but while that was going on, while we were recording those, there was a really awful debate between Joe Biden and Donald Trump.
Yeah, we were busy having fun with Casey Green while we watched Democracy Sundown on live TV.
Yeah. There's been a lot of talk on the various news channels and whatnots about President Harris, about President Kamala. And so a bunch of people, including myself, have renounced their previous dislike of the K-Hive, I guess, is the easiest way to put it. And have said, well, you know what? Fine. If this is the way it's going to be, let's embrace it.
I think there's a distinction between K-Hive and being coconut pilled, because I think a K-Hive is like a true blue blindfolded person putting their hand in a box full of syringes hoping they get the gummy bear.
Fair enough.
I feel like people that are coconut pilled
Yeah.
are just kind of jokerfied in a way. They're just, you know what? We had 200 years of this country. Like, you know what? Like, not everything's built to last. We might as well go out on a real 1920s post World War I German art scene thing. Instead of Hugo Ball, we have Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
She's basically going out there and doing, sound poetry, blungo blungo and all that.
The wheels on the bus go round and round.
Our first barred out president.
I'm loving it.
Absurd divorced art teacher energy.
I originally, you said that, and I was like, no, that's more Marianne Williamson. But then I had to amend it. I'm like, no, Marianne Williamson is like the aunt who's really into crystals and the tarot.
I'm a fun mom.
The fun mom, yeah.
And Kamala Harris is an empty nester who her husband left her so he could go operate a kiln or whatever you call it, like for pottery, like in like rural Thailand.
I was thinking mountain climbing, but yeah, it works.
Yeah, just like I'm just going to do like some weird bohemian shit. Yeah, and you're not going to be a part of it.
Sorry, honey.
And you're going to be left in the Midwest teaching kids how to draw their hands. And you're going to develop a really interesting prescription pill addiction.
Right. And so this podcast is officially Kamala Maxing. We're coconut pilled. What does that mean exactly?
Well, you got to understand that you are in the context of that which has come before and not which is presently happening.
So yeah, I think the thing that really started a lot of this off was there was a 4-minute supercut of her repeating that phrase over and over and over again at the J. Coop, John Cooper, posting this 4 straight minutes of what can be unburdened by what has been. Here's a little taste.
I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been. You know?
What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been.
Oh, baby, you're not supposed to be mixing that with wine.
Now, my favorite one is the one where she's going on, was it Chi-Chi the God? She's going on like his fucking radio show saying that same fucking thing. Oh, boy. And so this has been passed around as well, this the official K-Hive apology form to K-Hive. From date, reason for behavior, one of the checkboxes is the media convinced me we're unpopular. I didn't know you fell out of an actual coconut tree. I miss Mamala. I don't know what can be unburdened by what has been. I was jealous of K-Hive. Mercury was in retrograde. I will hereby respect Kamala, and I will not talk down to the future first ballot Hall of Famer.
Oh, check one.
Check one, yeah.
Yeah, I think with the direness of this presidential election and just how bad the Democrats have fucked this chicken, there's, I think, the apathy of what American politics have been, and in spite of what I think people actually want in this country, like the majority, and what like working class people like me and you want. They have that so grossly ignored. You know, I think it was like Nina Simone or someone that has the quote that, you know, the Democrats they love to bear witness to suffering.
Yeah,
and I feel like that we've been really feeling that for I want to say probably for me and you at least our adult lives, if not since we were children.
Yeah, I mean since we were of voting age.
Yeah. I mean, I felt that when I voted, you know, in 2004.
Well, I told you that I voted for Ralph Nader, for fuck's sake, and so you know, people were trying to crucify him online for posting about, you know, hey, maybe it's time for Joe Biden to step aside. And I'm like, no, actually, he's right.
Yeah, he is. I mean, like Kamala Harris is a candidate with limited appeal.
Yeah, but and this is a friend of the program, Juniper. At Can't Ever Die. Look, Kamala doesn't have great politics, isn't particularly charismatic, doesn't have a strong coalition of supporters, but she is incredibly funny in a way few politicians are, and that's really all that matters anymore, and I'm inclined to believe her.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of a nutshell, like probably a much more better extrapolation of what I was saying, that yeah, it's
vibes.
We're vibe maxing politics because like we're not, you know, the oceans are going to boil,
right,
and the snow caps are melting, but at least couldn't we have some great Schadenfreude?
Right,
could be like a laugh.
Well, yeah, because like with Trump you get a laugh, but you also get the bad shit too.
You get the terrors.
Right, and so like can we have the laugh without the terrors? Probably, maybe, sort of, I guess. Yeah. I'm up here hoping. It's the hopefulness, I think, is what's happening, is people are like, well, okay, things suck, but maybe if we get President Harris, maybe at least it'll be an entertaining death spiral that we can enjoy.
Yeah, listen, the Republicans are still going to get everything they want.
Right.
But, you know, I thought, you know, the first time I voted 20 years ago, I thought that was dire. I thought that was depressing. I didn't know it could get worse. the public school system did not adequately set me up for just how bad things could be, and I'm feeling a little sour about
yeah, kind of shaking your fist a little bit. Yeah, so am I. I mean, Jesus, there's a lot of politics stuff that I don't even want to get into because we'll be here all night. But like, the Supreme Court basically saying, yeah, nothing the president does is ever really illegal. And it's like, Nixon fucking said that 40 years ago.
It's not illegal if the president does it? Or
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it's like, cool.
And then, of course, this rules, and then Biden kind of guffaws at it, like, well, okay. You know, you'd think that if he was the moral and ethical man, the man on the right here, that if you were being given that sort of power, even if it was right or not, but you had the chance to do some legitimate good, why wouldn't you? Because the Democrats during Obama, they were so sure that Hillary was going to win that they didn't close the loopholes that could be abused that Trump and his administration took advantage of.
Right.
So we saw a continuation or worsening of some of the more despicable elements of Obama's presidency, and saw that some things that were kind of being kept in bound by decency or a sense of morality, then being abused and exploited by people that had none of those things.
Right.
So, anyways, poo-poo pee-pee.
Poo-poo pee-pee. So the politics blind item number, it's not even a blind item, politics item number 2, a gentleman, I hesitate to use that word, a blue check by the name of Bizlet, at Bizlet7, posted a photo of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's boyfriend. In this case, it's referenced as partner because that's the more kind of generic term that you use. But he posted it with the following text: "This man sucks on AOC's big fat Latina milkers every night. He doesn't even know what a deadlift is. Never heard about looks maxing or hunter's eyes. How does this make you feel, Anon?" This is kind of like the anti-red pill kind of thing. He's doing like...
It would have been a lot funnier if this, how does this make you feel, white boy? Because this is truly a how does this make you feel, white boy kind of hypothetical.
Yeah, and you know, my natural response was, hey, get help. But also... using the language of inceldom kind of against them is a very interesting tactic. I'm kind of curious how it's going to play for him, but...
You know, I am upset. Thank you for asking.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you know what? But this man, Riley Roberts, gives hopes to all, like, weirdly postured, gangly gingers everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it gives me hope.
I was going to say, yeah.
There was a documentary... I don't know, I want to say like 2018 or so about her, or maybe it was like a 60-minute special or something.
Yeah, because I think it was about the squad as a whole.
Yeah, and they showed him, and I remember the internet, particularly Twitter, was calling him AOC's raccoon boyfriend, like his like the shelter puppy boyfriend.
Right.
Like yeah, respect. We can pull.
Oh, yeah. And then there were a couple of photoshops, and it's like me and the bad bitch I pulled by being goofy. Like there's, you know,
yeah. That's just such a. It's just such an interesting, so antagonistic.
Yeah,
Who are you supposed to be pissing off with a phrase like this?
I think it's incels. I think he's directly targeting the people who are all talking about like, oh, I'm a sub 5 beta. I'll never do. It's like, yeah, look at this guy. Your whole life is a lie, essentially. That's what he's trying to say, at least. Incel shit is ridiculous.
Incel shit's ridiculous because I wonder how many of those guys out there. I mean, there's ladies, but not so many. I mean, like young men or teenage boys that realize that, like, you know, if you're just like only kind of shitty and are at least like interesting, you can probably find someone.
Someone's going to find that interesting / attractive. Yeah. I'm constantly surprised that I've been married for almost 20 years. So I'm like, I'm a little goblin man. What do you mean?
I look like a albino gerbil, you know, and I've got like a hot, interesting girlfriend who like wants to hang out with me and doesn't roll her eyes at me too much.
Well, a little bit's healthy, I think. You know, you gotta roll your eyes at your partner.
Keep my ego in check.
My wife at dinner was just saying some really funny shit, and she's just a weird little gremlin too. And so it's like, yeah, we're kind of like two peas in a pod.
Yeah, and your wife is awesome, and like I feel really lucky to have my girlfriend she gets my ass. But it's in the hopes of like making me better, and not necessarily like browbeating, which is I think always an important distinction when you're holding people you care about to a standard. I'm sometimes not used to the candor,
Right?
but there's like a lot of times where it's like the kombucha girl, where it's like, yeah, no, she's not wrong. Okay, yeah, maybe I should unload the dishwasher before I go to the gym. That would make sense.
Fair enough. Yeah. You find yourself saying "fair enough" quite a bit. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, sure. Okay. Hey, life's about compromise. Well, you know who didn't compromise? RFK Jr. Oh boy. There's just really no easy way to ease into this story. It was a Vanity Fair article that came out just the other day. It opens with, last year, Robert Kennedy Jr. texted a photograph to a friend. In the photo, RFK Jr. was posing alongside an unidentified woman with the barbecued remains of what appears to be a dog. Kennedy told the person who was traveling to Asia that he might enjoy a restaurant in Korea that served dog on the menu, suggesting Kennedy had sampled dog. The photo was taken in 2010, according to the digital file's metadata, the same year he was diagnosed with a dead tapeworm in his brain. Interesting.
Fucking insane person.
And so a veterinarian apparently examined the photograph, says the carcass is a canine, pointing to the number of ribs. And
he's
that.
like holding up the whole damn thing.
By the tail or by a stick through
It's
the
a
butt?
skewer,
It's
yeah.
a skewer, yeah.
Yeah, it's just a little much for me. Like
Yeah, not good.
not good. Just this is like his own damn family and his own damn friends are like ratting him out.
Yeah.
Which is perhaps to be the most interesting part about it.
Yeah, I mean, even Joe Hagan, the guy who wrote it for Vanity Fair, got a pretty unlimited access to some stuff that you wouldn't think you'd get for a presidential candidate from any party, anywhere. The spread of this, of course, was enormous and very quick. Here's Robert F. Kennedy Jr. responding. Hey, Vanity Fair, you know when your veterinary experts call a goat a dog and your forensic experts say a photo taken in Patagonia was taken in Korea, that you've joined the ranks of supermarket tabloids. Keep telling America that up is down if you want. I'll keep talking about the fact that hardworking families can't afford houses or groceries because our last two presidents went, and so forth and so on. I mean, he goes on a bit of a thing there, but
RFK is just an absurd human being, and it is interesting that he really knows how to mix like a statement that isn't necessarily wrong, like about like debt spending and things like that,
right.
and then but then you're like, yes, but sir, you're insane.
Yeah.
Yes, what are you bringing to the table? Nothing good.
Yeah, it can't be. Well, if you're eating dog, you may want to put a little sauce on it, and the Heinz company has you covered. This was baffling to me because this sounds both gross and fascinating, and I want it so badly. Food and Wine magazine. Emily Price writing, "You've done it. You finally created the perfect burger. Now you have just one last thing to decide. What sauce to put on it? Sure, you could use ketchup, mustard, or mayonnaise, or maybe get a little crazy and try something like Heinz's smoky mayonnaise, or a little fancy with Heinz's truffle mayo. It's a difficult decision, of course, but what if we told you you don't have to choose? That you can put them all on that burger, along with quite a few others, with Heinz's new Every Sauce, a limited edition offering from the company that, as the name suggests, includes every sauce in the same bottle."
Yeah, I fucking want this.
Yeah. So apparently there are 14 distinct sauces in this, according to Heinz_UK. Burger sauce, garlic sauce, aioli sauce, smoky baconaise, sweet chili chip sauce, saucy sauce, don't know, I guess that's tomato and egg, mayo racha, mayo must, it's mustard and mayonnaise, truffle mustard mayonnaise, yeah.
Hey moms, have you had it with the same old sandwich making routine? Then try new Stenson's Mayo Stirred. Mayo Stirred combines mayonnaise and mustard into one easy serving jar. See the yellow lines and the white lines? That means Mayo Stirred is working to save you time.
It cuts sandwich making time in half.
And Mayo Stirred works with every type of bread, from white to wheat.
Dad, I'm dying. Sorry. Making a sandwich. I remember when they made that. I remember when that came out. Everyone's like, they fucking did it.
Right. Oh, and the worst part is that Abe Lincoln in that sketch is Jay Johnston, who was just arrested for participating in January 6th.
Amazing.
Let's see here. Truffle mayo, garlic and caramelized onion mayo, curry ketchup, pickle ketchup, and smoky bacon ketchup. So those are the 14 sauces.
So how do I get this?
So unfortunately, it is not available. It is a UK-only product to begin with, and they gave away just 100 bottles of the limited edition sauce through a random drawing on the website. So it is all gone for now. Yeah.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
Pissed.
Again, according to Emily here, we'll have to cross our fingers that the promotion will make its way stateside soon. We've got a burger waiting for it. I do indeed. I got a fridge full of meat that I cannot wait to slather with every sauce.
I have like a really visceral memory of being in high school.
Yeah.
And getting like the fucking chicken sandwich.
Oh, yeah.
From the cafeteria.
Sure.
That's like food in the heaviest of quotations.
Yeah, it's like legally distinct from not food, but barely.
Yeah. The wood content, the wood pulp content is just low enough to be technically considered food and not upholstery.
Just under.
Just under, yeah. But I remember this chicken it was not very good.
Right.
But the way you really fucking pimped out that chicken sandwich is you took a packet of mayo and you took a packet of ketchup and you swirl it together on your tray and you dip that motherfucker. And that used to be the way to really make that thing sing. And damn, yeah, I could really go for a near food chicken sandwich from my high school.
I was fond of, because when I went to college, there was a Chick-fil-A in the food court. You get your choice of 2 sauces every time you got a chicken sandwich or the chicken nuggets. And so the Polynesian sauce and the honey mustard together, serious business. If you're willing to give money to a company that is extremely homophobic, that is, which we didn't know at the time. That was our innocence. Obviously, I have not been back since. But the sauces, you can get the sauces at the grocery store now. You don't have to go to the Chick-fil-A. And but yeah, Polynesian sauce and honey mustard. Their honey mustard in particular, because it was much sweeter than any honey mustard I'd ever had. I think they just were like, yeah, a touch of mustard and it's mostly honey.
I've done a combination like that before, and I agree. It does slap.
Super sweet.
I'm a big fan of just the Chick-fil-A sauce, and it is a shame that a above average place to eat fast food from is also deeply tied with such homophobic and terrible things.
Right.
But I think the only way I could probably eat Chick-fil-A now is if I were like traveling. I was in some podunk like town.
It was all they had,
and it was like one of those things where it's like, okay, what's least likely going to give me food poisoning? Because I've gotten food poisoning from Burger King. I've gotten food poisoning from
Taco Bell.
Fucking
more than once.
Taco Bell not as much as you'd think for me, but
really,
I know it has taken down many a wise person in my life. But fucking Jack in the Box used to be the one that would just like ruin me.
Yeah, it used to be. They've really come around in the past couple of years. I'm
going to tell you something. So many Jack in the Boxes in the St. Louis area are like owned by the same 2 or 3 people.
Oh, it's like Broadway company. Yeah,
yeah, and they all like they don't ever change like their oil or anything like that. And I remember, I'm sure I've told this before on the pod before, but like being in California like 10 years ago and eating Jack in the Box at like a California Jack in the Box, one that seems to be held to a different standard than the ones in Missouri, and being like, I have not had Jack in the Box taco taste like this like since I was in like middle school.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah. What's your favorite local burger place that'll make you sick? Sound off 314-246-9766. Give us a call and leave a voicemail and tell us all about it. In the meantime, it's Crypto Scam of the Week, baby.
You're listening to 48 Minutes of Dogs Barking, the podcast.
And now it's time for the Crypto Scam of the Week.
This one, Brian, really upset me.
Yeah, this is weird.
This bothers me in a way that I can't even begin to explain. But I guess we'll give it a shot. Break this down for me. What the fuck is this?
So, in the world of shitcoining and crypto, there's often something called a meta.
Okay.
When it comes to like meme coins and shit coins.
Okay.
So like a couple summers ago, it was like weird takes on Japanese philosophy. A summer before that, like it was like, you know, all the dog coins and shit. And recently the narrative for shit coins has been Matt Fury.
Yeah, you mentioned that before.
Yeah, so there is a shit coin It was based off of some character of his I never heard of that like has just recently crashed and burned in like a really amazing way. But this is based off of a character that is used in just about every single comic by the Spanish cartoonist Joan Cornella Vasquez.
Mm-hmm.
The comics that are just like, everything sucks and there's like a smiling guy with like a parted haircut, or there's so many. There's like, they're just so humorously and savagely like dark and dour.
Yeah. He's a very distinct artist. You can always tell you're looking at a Juan Cornelia, but there's always the one that I keep coming back to is like the guy's getting mugged. And then someone tries to step in, but it's like the guy shoots him instead. And he's got it's a lot of stuff about guns.
The guy goes to the doctor. He's got blood coming out of his neck, and he turns out his pockets to show that he doesn't have any money. So the doctor reaches inside of his lab coat, and then he pulls out a middle finger. And then the guy who is bleeding, ejecting quite a quantity of blood out of his neck, is just kind of like smiling, kind of.
Okay, yeah.
Just, I think one of the funnier cartoonists to come out, I would say, post Mad Magazine.
Yeah,
like there's a lot of like the countercultural avant-garde kind of thing that you sometimes would feel with like Al Jaffe or something with Mad Magazine.
There's one that he posted to Instagram of a guy with his dick on the barbecue, smiling, and then
like he's like. The Dragon Ball Z guy where he's only got like 3 faces, but they're all winners.
He's taken to Instagram to make these like almost demotivational posters. There's some real surreal ones about puppets, but this is not actually him, right?
No.
Okay.
So
because it says inspired by.
I don't even know if Jeffrey is like the actual name of this character.
Yeah.
They just gave it a name, but someone made a fucking shitcoin using IP that isn't theirs, based around this character. And the thing that got really bizarre for me was like I went into their Telegram, and it's just a bunch of people. I don't think that they understand the humor, and I don't think the person who or individuals involved with this token like understand what's funny. Just like, oh, it's recognizable. They don't understand the art. They don't understand the humor.
Yeah.
It's just a recognizable image. And there's been lots of Matt Fury related shit like this. And this is, like I said, it's the Matt Fury meta.
Okay.
And people are like, well, the Matt Fury stuff's kind of in mind. Well, who's of the same zeitgeist, I suppose, as far as like internet cartoonists. And Joan is definitely one of them. I think Joan's obviously much more successful. Yeah, I checked like the cash tag, and it's just people thinking it's like ironic.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder how many people are like English is not even like their third language.
You gotta wonder. I'm looking at this chart, and it's like it's gone up and down a whole shit ton. The market cap is set to 3.47 million as of, I believe, yesterday. Then it says Jeffrey has recovered well after the dump yesterday. So it's like, oh, so they're even using the language of like, yeah, people dumped this, but it's
I mean, it went down, went back up, and it's kind of what I think it's at trading at like half. But people posting like really mean, but not humorous, like, but like also against like their own interests, like pitching this, like trying to get other people to buy this crypto coin.
Yeah.
So it just felt really bizarre, and like, do you guys know this is not how you get other people to buy the fucking scam that you're in on?
It's so weird because Nick Rad here writing the fresh new meta is going to be huge. The dark sarcastic meme humor is degen to the core, basically saying that like, yeah, you're gonna lose your money.
Yeah, I feel like when I see something like this, it really reminds me of. I mean, this feels like some Society of Spectacle shit. This is a set of images removed from its original context, and it's the most transparent, onion paper thin interaction with this art that's so far removed from its point of origin, but now it's perpetuating itself in like the most barest, crass, cynical form of capitalism that we pretty much have that doesn't involve like oil and weapons.
Yeah, because I mean, people responding to this Jeffrey on X Twitter account with like their version of the Jeffrey character in a McDonald's uniform with a gun under his pillow. Like, hey, yeah, okay, I guess.
It feels like it's supposed to be riffing on a lot of crypto memes, but in the context of what the Joan comics or the Jeffrey comics, it just seems like really dark and like off-putting, not like humorous. Like, this is just one that kind of stuck in my craw.
There's some dark stuff. Obviously, Joan, no problem going super dark about.
Yeah, but it's like fucking funny.
Yeah, it's got a point of view. It's got a genuine kind of like the newer Nancy comics, absurd horror comedy, and this crypto thing doesn't have.
Doesn't seem like it understands the humor, and it's just please buy my shit coin so maybe I can make some money.
One of the images I saw a little bit ago was just like the Jeffrey character. Thank fucking God, just made $42.
Yeah.
So if you're a fan, avoid this at all costs, I think is the piece of advice I can give you. That is financial advice.
It is financial advice. Yeah, a little slow this week on crypto scams, but this was we're talking about the culture here. When there was a bigger air of wasn't just crass like race to the bottom like capitalist bullshit. And this is a culture coin. This is a community coin.
I guess.
But if you go in their TG and their Telegram, it's just like people bitching and slapping each other on the back like they're bad kids. And
well, I mean, isn't that kind of every coin's TG?
Some are a little bit more rational. When you get with these shit coins, man, like sometimes you're just like, you know what, the internet was a mistake.
Right.
There's a YouTube. Oh yeah, it just has like this one video I looked at earlier. So like right there, you can already see a misunderstanding of the humor.
Yeah.
Because, Jeffrey gets rugged. You see the character Jeffrey pulling his phone out and realizing that the shitcoin he bought had totally fucking tanked. And the character's reaction is to like have like happy eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Where you would think if it were in line with the actual humor that this character comes from, would probably be like something much more like dark and bleak. Like maybe you hear like a gun cock or something. Or, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
yeah. It loses some of the cynical dark edge to it.
Yeah.
In favor of this.
So there's already a misunderstanding of this humor.
Right, because it's always in favor of this kind of, oh, well, he's going to try again. Throughout the 1.5-minute video, he buys several coins that all rug. And by the end of the video, he's got a beard and he's got the laser eyes. Because it's Jeffrey coin that he finally buys. You see. This coin is not affiliated. This meme coin is made for entertainment purposes only. That is the big disclaimer that goes through the bottom of the page. I would be extremely fucking mad if I was shown. I would be firing up my lawyers at this very moment.
Yeah, we had Casey Gree on last week, and, Dick Butt and, This Is Fine have all been reiterated as shit coins many times over, and it seems like he's made his peace with that. He's created something that's kind of outside of his control,
right? But this is so very different because that character, that face, that expression is pretty much his entire thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's not just a one-off character like with Dick Butt. That's a one-off character
from like one comic strip.
Yeah, from Horribleville, from literally one page. And it was a one-off joke that it kind of got out of his control. Or even This Is Fine, that's Question Hound. Sure, he's a recognizable character, but that was like one page of something larger for part of Gun Show. But this is something different. That's like his entire deal. Now, what fascinated me is that this is not the first time Joan's been involved in the crypto space. Once upon a time, he did have an official NFT. So MOAR, more was the coin, and it was official. It was by Joan Cornelia. Yeah, 50 artworks, all hand drawn, 5,000 supply. Fwen Club got him into that, which is the whole thing. I don't even know if they're around anymore, but the website's still up. No, so April of 2022. So it was about 2 years ago that he actually got in on the NFT based on his work. That's one thing if you go, okay, go ahead and do this thing. Here, I'll draw some stuff. It's another thing if somebody just goes, yeah, this is based on your stuff, and
this is completely just whole cloth, like
yeah.
a really weird, bad faith interpretation of your artwork for just money. What's what are these NFTs going for?
Price for today, $169.90 with a 24-hour sales volume of 0.050 ETH. That's per CoinGecko. Up 0% from the last 24 hours.
Oh, wow. 1 point at a time. These were trading for over 1 Ethereum.
Yeah, I think the maximum value they said was 1.84. And that was in April when they first came out. And then they've just kind of been... There's a bit of a bump 2 years ago, and then it's just kind of been doing its slow decline since then, and now it's,
amazing.
That's fine, I guess. It's fine.
Gosh.
Oh boy. Well, cartoonists and cartoons have been on our mind lately. We actually had last week Atom Films was our main topic. This week, somebody that worked very closely with Atom Films. That was a gentleman who goes by the name Joe Cartoon. That's right.
Dick in a blender.
So Joe Cartoon is actually a guy named Joe. Joseph Shields, the name. Starting as an independent website, they were later affiliated with Atom Films, but then they went solo again. Went offline for a while. Did some DVD releases. That was interesting. And then a couple of years ago, they're back on the internet. So the basics of it was Flash. A huge thing for animators and cartoonists at this time period, 1999, early 2000s. Let's see here. Original release actually lists as December 1st, 1998. So, yeah, that would have been early Flash. Gerbil in a microwave, frog in a blender. Oh, boy. So, Brian, Joe Cartoons, who's your guy? Because there's a bunch of characters here that are listed on the page here.
The gerbil.
Yeah.
I think the gerbil's Lumpy the no-legged dog, I do remember. But the gerbil was kind of like, the mascot for Joe Cartoon. There was even like a Monica Lewinsky joke with the gerbil.
Oh, no. Because the one I always remember is Joe Mama, was the little bratty, like Dennis the Menace type little kid. Yeah, because he gets kicked out of the house by his mom. Yeah, he sees a penguin and insults it. The penguin attacks him, knocks the kid out cold. He's found in a cabinet. I have a soft spot for the bratty kids. I always love the Dennises, the Menaces, the Calvins of the world there. But man, Joe Cartoon, what an interesting, here's my art. Here's the thing that I'm making. I'm just going to put it online. And
it was insanely fucking popular.
Yeah.
As far as like internet stuff, I think like this... Gerbil in the blender, frog in a microwave was probably up there with like Camp Chaos's Napster Bad.
Yeah,
I think Napster Bad was probably bigger.
Yeah, Lobster Magnet,
yeah. And there's like Kill Frog, and a couple others that were kind of on a similar level. But yeah, Joe Cartoon was one that I remember going to my mom's work for Take Your Kid to Work Day. This was probably like 99 or 2000, and like her coworkers like being so excited to show us kids like frog in a blender. And this was a place where like people were getting like in trouble for having like Dilbert strips on their cubicle.
Oh yeah, you were saying that. Yeah. Because that
Dilbert
was so edgy.
It was like people were like making a fucking stand.
Yeah. How dare you?
How dare you say I can't put a fucking Dilbert comic on my, you know how much fucking money I make this company?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, software devs especially. So this from Huffington Post, oddly enough, is an article that's the conversation with legendary animator Joe Cartoon. That is from 2015 by Bob Seska, former host of the Bob and Shez Show, who also is a frequent guest on the Stephanie Miller program. Stephanie Miller was one of the progressive, big air quotes, radio hosts on this kind of, it wasn't Air America, it's the Sirius XM picked up. It's called Progress. It's like Radio Progress.
Yeah.
So Stephanie Miller, Tom Hartman, he shows up on those as well. But yeah, Bob Seska wrote this in 2015. One of the first cartoonists to successfully create and stream web cartoons ever was my friend of 17 years, Joe Shields, popularly known as Joe Cartoon. Joe started out as a t-shirt designer and, like me, began to tinker with Flash animations before anyone knew how to install the Flash plugin on their Netscape browsers. So that's kind of giving you his bona fides there.
Yeah.
But yes, his viral hits Frog in a Blender and Gerbil in a Microwave were household names, the flagship cartoons for an insane era of digital creativity where millions of dollars were hurled in the direction of anyone who could draw and voice their own shorts. He goes on to mention Happy Tree Friends and Batman and Spider-Man. But yes, much like Atom Films, much like Albino Black Sheep, a lot of stuff we've talked about already in this past month and some change, Flash and the ability to put cartoons that are weird and in your face on the web blew the fuck up.
I can go on Newgrounds and I can watch the browser take 10 minutes to load a W.S. Stamper cartoon or fucking one where Yoda talks about getting head or something.
Yes.
Donald
Duck gets a blowjob. .swf.
I don't know why I can't really do. I used to be able to do a Donald Duck. I just sound like someone who's autoerotically asphyxiating themselves while also trying to get away from a hot stove.
So, in this interview, Joe Shields mentions that Bob was one of the first people to put his cartoons online in Bob's nascent website, which was called Camp Chaos.
Oh, how about that?
Yeah, so Bob Seska, a big instrumental part of Camp Chaos. Bob saying, I got to the point where I couldn't even open my copy of Flash without feeling a little barfy. Do you get tired of the process of animating? Joe responding, yes, and yes, Flash was and still is the tool if I animate. But that old material was the most depressing, especially the button push stuff. How many ways can you say, you ain't got the balls? No balls. So he, in 2015, apparently there is a documentary by Robert Thompson called Cousin Joe about him and his early days in cartooning, but also he became a blues artist. He did backwoods blues records out of his house. So Cousin Joe, but even with 2015 and making backwoods blues music, he's still doing it on the computer. He's still using.
He's everything has to involve the computer. And I think what made like Joe Cartoon also kind of interesting is it was like a more blue collar approach to humor. It wasn't necessarily as surreal or like edgy or ironic as like some other stuff that was maybe coming out at the time. It was very like something to make your uncle laugh.
Yeah, I really feel like Joe Cartoon and like Mike Judge kind of came of the same cloth. Like Frog in a Blender, Frog Baseball.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just this sensibility of like, yeah, I'm just going to do something stupid just for fun. But it turned into something else, obviously. Both between Judge and Joe, but like, yeah, here he says, I had deals with Shockwave and Atom Films, which we talked about with Casey Green. And he says the ad revenue was great at the time and the deals were lucrative. But right at the height of it all, just before the crash, meaning the .com crash, I lost an adrenal gland. I was pumping fight or flight hormones into my body and I crashed at the same time the bubble popped. So now I only have one adrenal gland left. Shockwave let me out of a deal we had for 10 more animations because basically I couldn't do them. I had, like you Bob Seska, a 2-year party maybe, then I exploded in a bad way. And then he goes on to name some other, Casey mentioned the Icebox, that's what Bob had mentioned, the rompop.com. Joe mentions, Camp Chaos, Rock School, Joe Sparks, Duty, Fatty Big Eye, Tyler Gabe, Kill Frog. We were the anti-Hollywood badasses for a year, which surprises me that it was only a year, but I guess that kind of tracks because there was that big explosion of that money.
Cartoon, yeah, like I want to say like between like 2000 like 2002, that was really the heyday of it. I remember having a friend and her college roommate had a fucking Kill Frog shirt and just like and just thinking like, what the fuck? Because like in that period of time, like the early aughts, how fucking hard is it to order something off the internet that isn't like Amazon?
Oh yeah,
I
eBay was even still.
eBay was still fucking weird. I remember like ordering stuff on Amazon and just never showed up. Yeah, but that was like 20 years ago. I always tell the story about my brother buying jeans off of some she made like her own jeans.
Oh yeah.
And I think the jeans like never showed up. And I was like, "Are you going to get upset about that?" He's like, "No, it was a nice thought."
Damn.
It's just like, you know what? Like, she couldn't get the jeans to me.
Yeah.
Like maybe like she's got something going on. Like my brother, such a sweet guy.
Yeah.
Just his viewpoint, like, maybe she's got some shit going on.
Right.
Where like maybe she needs the money more than I need the jeans. Like I can always get a pair of jeans, but that money that I sent her like in PayPal or whatever, like
yeah.
Maybe she's going through something.
What a sweet guy. That's a very trusting kind of, yeah. I love that. So he was asked in this interview by Bob Sesko, what was the deal with Frog in a Blender? How did that start? And I thought this story was pretty cool too. He says, Frog in a Blender started as a self-promo piece. I received a fan letter that I just loved that said that I was, quote, a cross between Gary Larson and Stephen King. I thought it was great. So I started making a little Joe cartoon promo that asked, what do you get when you drop Gary Larson and Stephen King into a blender? And of course, the blood splatter would have spelled joecartoon.com. I was working on that for about 5 minutes when I remembered the very ancient joke, what is red and green and spins around really fast? A frog in a blender. I think I had just learned about buttons in Flash. Oh, hell, it was just too obvious. And so it started as a joke, as all favorite things of mine do, at least. You gotta love, like, oh, okay, here's a dumb idea. I'm just gonna make it a thing. And it became way more than it originally ever was supposed to be. I like this particular interview for a lot of reasons, but the biggest one is that he really talks about a lot of the nuts and bolts. So, for example, when asked, do Adam and Shockwave expect you to turn out just new iterations of the same thing, or do they let you go? Joe goes, well, they put no constraints on the content. I delivered a piece, and that was it. Only one was rejected, and that was because some producer there wanted a little creative input. Russ the Barbarian, one of the people at Adam, basically told him to fuck off. So he posted it and made them another one.
Yeah, and Bob saying to Joe, we never or rarely talk about your family. Always envisioned you in one of two ways. One, as a thoughtful artist with a wicked sense of humor. And two, as a hillbilly who lives alone and talks to his jackalope. Are you married, kids? Prisoners in a creepy crawl space. Your son is in band. Yeah. And, but that's kind of what I always figured is like, it had to either be like, like a guy that was, maybe smoked a little bit of pot.
Right.
Like when he was getting his engineering degree, he worked for Boeing for a couple of years and he said, fuck this square shit.
Right.
And decided he was going to make weird internet cartoons. Or just like, a guy that like, fucking dresses his own fucking cow every summer.
Right. Has a strange collection of little shoes.
He knows what turpentine, when it's good and when it's bad. Impurities in it. We can't use that.
There's still that kind of thing going on these days because, like, if you think about Junji Ito, like his work is this graphic, really odd stuff. And in person, he's just a kind, sweet little guy who loves cats. He's just
and spirals. And...
Yeah, he's just a sweet guy who loves cats. He just happens to have these dark drawings. And then somebody who will write the most wholesome, romance manga will be like, yeah, I fucking love Norwegian death metal, and I hang out with the lights off, smoking by myself in the basement. It's very funny. And so, yeah, according to Joe, I'm a thoughtful artist with a wicked sense of humor and hillbilly sensibilities. So apparently he's got a little bit of everything. He says he doesn't pose a threat to anyone except maybe a trout.
But yeah, he sounds like your dad's friend.
Yeah. He lives in the Michigan woodlands on 10 acres, yeah, he says, turkey and deer and coyote are plentiful, but as of yet I have not hunted because I just don't need another hobby. Michigan guys are always interesting.
I'm still of the theory that the weird shit really comes from Ohio. I think Ohio is a really weird cultural cesspool.
The landlocked states and then the Pacific Northwest. Those are the two places that I think of.
Yeah, but Missouri doesn't get it the same way.
No.
I don't think Illinois does. I think Illinois is like too metropolitan in some ways.
Yeah.
Like Chicago is such a big magnet. And then you also have places like St. Louis and Louisville.
Sure.
That are, on the periphery. But Ohio, you've been to Ohio.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's pretty out there. Like, I've gone to Cedar Point a couple times. I think Sandusky's an interesting, like, town.
Cleveland's fun.
Yeah, it's way better in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of things are better. Like
You will get no argument from me. Yes.
I'm so bored. I could go to Indianapolis.
Oh boy.
I'm sorry to all 5 of our Indianapolis listeners.
That's okay. I don't think they really know how to work the old podcast machine out there. Anyway.
But like Ohio feels like its own thing in a way that other parts of the Midwest or like the Rust Belt aren't.
Yeah.
There was a guy, Gary, he used to do sound at the Firebird, who one of his like fucking core tenets about music that he stuck by was like the weirdest shit comes from Ohio. And he would just sit there and he would be like DRI, Gil Mantero's Party Dream, Devo, just all of these bands, and he's like, motherfucker ain't wrong.
No.
And there was a few times that I remember Gary went up to a band, like a touring band, back when the Firebird was still getting established and was taking anyone.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, sure, Black Lips were playing there, sure, Caribou were playing there, but like also like bands that were probably playing like a bar and grill in their next stop, like in Omaha or KC.
Yeah.
Like this was like the one real venue they played their whole entire tour. I remember he went up to a band and he was like, y'all from Ohio? And they're like, no. He goes, y'all from Arizona? And they go, yeah. He's like, look, I knew it was 1 to 2. Because Arizona is also like a weird ass music dude state.
Yeah, some places in Georgia too, like Athens and all that.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about, you said Ohio. Yeah, Dayton, Ohio. The Breeders, Guided by Voices. Like,
Ohio is like the Iceland of like the United States, where like there ain't shit else to do but be weird and interesting. Because Marilyn Manson's from Ohio.
Sure.
We could sit here all day long, but I think Ohio is a real breeding ground for
Trent Reznor also.
Trent Reznor's from, Earthquaker Devices. They're based out of not Canton. Are they?
Akron.
I'm sorry. Akron, Ohio, because that's also like where the Black Keys are from.
Yeah.
And Black Keys record their best record, Rubber Factory, an old Rubber Factory.
Yes.
And Akron, Ohio. The Zen Buddhist / rock star. God, I had his name on the tip of my tongue. Ben something other. He wrote Hardcore Zen. Brad Warner. Which is also the birth name of Marilyn Manson. But he's played in a bunch of punk bands and does all kinds of weird shit. But he is from Akron, Ohio. I think he's from Akron, yeah. Ohio's a weird fucking state. Not to get away from a topic at hand. Hamilton. His book, Hardcore Zen, is really interesting.
I don't know why I did the Husker Du thing. I think I just had them on the brain lately.
Well, it was because an arcade just turned like 40 years old or
That'll
something.
do it. Yeah.
Which is fucking wild.
Yeah, isn't it?
I wasn't even born when that record came out.
I know.
Like, I feel old thinking like, fuck, man. Like Beck's Mellow Gold just turned 30.
Yeah.
Pre-Hate Machine just turned 30. I remember being a senior year of high school talking with someone about like, it was really weird, man. Beck releases, I guess graduated in 2004. It was like last couple weeks of high school. Just being like, it's really weird, man. I just found out this Beck record came out like 10 years ago. That's like old. And now that record's like 30 years old.
You're crumbling to dust in front of your own eyes, yeah. Well, the fact that Joe Cartoon was in 1998 also throws me for a loop, because I was like, oh, that's 35 years ago.
Yeah, you could, what's on Joe Cartoon now?
Well, actually, the site came back, so now they've got more in a blender stuff. Obviously, they've got LeBron James in a blender. Apparently,
that yeah, it's three drunk flies.
Oh, I was going Hillary Clinton in a blender.
Oh, jeez.
Kamala's favorite one. She's been watching this. 3 drunk flies. This is from 2000.
What up? Who's the man? You the man. Yeah. Oh, man. Wasted. Hammered. Really fucked up. Oh, fucked up. What up? Gotta go pee. Oh, yeah. What are you looking at, pinhead? Stupid. Yeah. What up? Who's the man? Pull over. Who's driving? Oh, my freaking head. I'm so wasted.
Fuck.
3 flies get into the Joe character's beer can. They're trashed, and one decides to antagonize a frog by pissing on it. Then he goes back to his buddies at the beer can. And he's like, check this out. And he goes and steals an eyeball off the frog. And then one of the other flies is like, gives him a little stick of dynamite. So he drops the dynamite in the frog's eye socket and kills the frog. And then the Joe character burns one fly. One fly got knocked off the can with the explosion. The remaining fly on the beer can was then incinerated, and then the remaining, the free fly realized what was coming for him, so he hopped back in the beer can. The Joe character takes a drink. His head turns into a fly. And then a frog comes by and rips his head off.
Yeah.
It didn't take much back then, but like I still chuckled. There's a sense of humor. There's a method to it. Like there's some the drawings are just good enough.
Yeah, I was reminded as soon as I saw the Joe character, I was like, oh, that's like a Bill Plimpton thing. It's a very interesting guy. You know, he's just kind of an odd guy, but not really all that weird. He's just a dude who likes beer and fishing. You know,
Yeah.
it's like
just a guy who has a sense, like thinks he's got something to make people chuckle with, and he does. And like, yeah, it's a thing.
And my favorite thing at the end of these videos, without remorse, has Joe cartoon without remorse has wasted approximately 2 minutes of your life.
Yeah.
And each one of them has a similar one at the end. But yeah, the people in a blender, I think moving over from Flash to just straight up video has taken a lot of the interactivity out of it, because the people in a blender, you can't push the buttons anymore. You just wait for the animation to finish. Joe cartoon cleaning up the world one douchebag at a time. You're welcome. So that's apparently he took on the In a Blender series as a way to get rid of all the bad people.
Wow.
So
I won't look into this any further.
Yeah, probably best. Yeah, since you can't actually control the speed of it anymore, it's just a static video that goes for 1.5 minutes until the frog is
dead.
Paste. So, and then that was 2012 when they brought the site back. May 2012, yeah, and announced that the website had returned, because for a while, for 2 years before this, he had offloaded everything to YouTube, because that was the way you delivered video. That's what you did. But then, yeah, he brought back the site. Here's the announcement video and blog, which I don't think actually had any text in it. JoeCartoon.com, it's back. You push the button there, it says "Feel the Love." Frog that's been run over by a motorcycle claps. that was their welcome back announcement. During the old days, they did have the site kind of segmented. Press and Splode, which were Flash animations where you pushed a button and something happened. Superfly, which was its own series. The Greenfields, which I believe included, that was the family, the Joe character. Gerbil Genocide, Donkey Bong. Donkey Bong was the only thing to ever get really taken down. It was self-censored, this according to Wikipedia, by the creator after its initial publication. The conclusion of the original version featured the gerbil singing The Sound of Silence, with the lyrics completely altered to describe the woes of being stuck inside of a donkey's rectum, which was the fate of the gerbil in the cartoon. The song parody was removed to avoid potential music copyright litigation. Newgrounds, however, managed to keep it up with the original parody song attached. I can't even remember the lyrics to it, but I have seen that one at least once. It's like, yeah, I'm stuck inside an anus.
Yeah, I vaguely remember this. And again, like, this stuff was funny enough, and stuff being funny on the internet was sometimes scarce feeling, and this was a new medium.
Yeah.
Flash animation. And I still chuckle thinking about Gerbil in the blender, Frog in the blender, and the stuff with the flies. Like, yeah, there's some here. I'm not sure.
It's puerile. It's juvenile.
Yeah, but it's not trying to convince you that it's anything that's not.
Well, exactly. And I think that's nice. Isn't that good?
Doesn't that feel good, kids?
I think it does.
Yeah.
It falls into that whole... I mean, I hate to have nostalgia for that time period of the internet, because there was still some plenty of awful shit.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there was a wide-eyed innocence. Like, yeah, we could do a whole thing about a frog in a blender. Isn't that nice, kids?
And now, the moment you've all been waiting for.
Shock.jpg.
Speaking of weird shit, so shock images are oftentimes old. We know this. This has been part of the show for a long time.
A weird bit of nostalgia. And I don't know if you left in me asking like the past two guests, like, hey, do you know about this weird?
I left some of them depending on the
there's like, I have my white whale, which is just something that I remember being so utterly bizarre and strange. It would be like me finding it'd be like for you like finding like a lost Junji Ito comic or something
that's never published. Yeah, so it's something so bizarre. Who made web only for like a website that's now defunct.
Yeah.
Well, this one is more recent because it came to us from Twitter.
Oh God.
And much like the
gas pump,
gas pump guy, the chicken sandwich, there's like literally just 3 or 4 that I can remember that are
fucking McChicken.
The McChicken. Those were the ones. Those were the ones that came from Twitter, and we haven't seen very many of those. The knife video did originally come from Twitter, but the folks at shocksites.net put it up.
Which one was the knife video again?
That was the one with the big serrated knife and the woman's putting it in her vagina.
Oh,
yeah. That was not good. This one's a little less so. This one comes to us courtesy of Memetica18.com on Twitter. This is only colloquially referenced to as the belly button video.
I can see why.
It is from a BBW porn star, Tiffany Cushenberry. No longer actually on her site. It only exists in this 6-second clip, which has 11 million views on Twitter.
Amazing. The X, the everything app.
It's all happening on X. And it is a guy penetrating a woman's belly button while clutching her boob. Like, yeah, I'm here, I guess.
I like the response from Lady Richachia. Let's see the gape. With 11K views, 9 responses, 1 retweet, and 4 likes.
Yeah, let's see the gape.
That first response is in Spanish. Let's translate that bad boy.
Let's see.
Ah, brother, how did Sapporo appear in my TL? Now go see this guy too.
All right.
I guess this maybe like, I feel like that's probably like a sports reference I don't understand.
Yeah, here's a German one. Hello, my followers. Thank me later. What people tagging other people on it.
So, the amount of responses I'm seeing in German, really tracks.
Someone tagging Lizzo.
Someone responding with a screenshot of a Google search, and the Google search is, how do you delete someone else's tweet? The amount of German stuff tracks. I had a friend in high school whose father was in the military and spent most of the 80s on a base in Germany.
Yeah.
And my friend was like, I found my dad's porn stash. And I was, like, we're like 14, 15 years old. Like, okay.
Yeah.
And he like showed it to me. And it was just all like BBW porn.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, pretty cool, right? I'm like, oh man, your dad's like, all bodies are beautiful, brother, but like the fact that there's really no variation here is, makes me feel like your father is of a limited imagination in his pornography consumption.
Yeah.
But it was all stuff, without getting too deep in the weeds, not too different from what you just showed me. And fuck you for that.
Thank you. And that is my mission, is to make you mad every week. And so far, so good.
So I'm hella yelling about the sex.
Well, it's
just
baffling in its construction because, like, it's not even like anything that seems enjoyable for anyone. For only one of the two parties, I can, in my mind's eye, kind of see how the dude might enjoy that. But the adult film star,
possibility that Lay does on some level. We have to.
I don't know. Poke your finger in your belly button. Does that feel good? No, it feels weird.
But I don't have but the thing is, I also my pointer finger and my belly button, I can't get like really. It's not that deep. I don't have a catcher's mitt belly button.
Right.
I can't really get past like my the depth of my fingernail.
But it still feels weird when you do it. That's what I'm saying. Like it's kind of an odd sensation.
Feels good if you do it right.
I guess.
Jason, you now you're the one with the lack of imagination.
It's not so much the lack of imagination. It's just like I know how that feels when I put my hand there. What an average size hog. What is that gonna?
I don't know. You know what? But listen, fortune favors the bold.
I guess so. I guess I never.
I'm sorry that the new paradigm of sexuality is something beyond your comprehension.
It passed me by.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess that means it's time for the breath mint.
Yeah, I guess so.
I mean, there's really not much else to say beyond that. No, don't stick it in my belly button, and also I'm not going to do that to anybody. That's just me.
That's the Jason guarantee.
It is that you can put that in writing.
Listen, we might ruin your credit, but we're not going to fuck your belly button.
Nope. Just two dudes hanging out, poking each other's belly buttons.
I have so many weird stories to tell about my younger years related to this, but I'm just... You'll just have to live in the theater of imagination.
One day we'll get
one
out.
Day.
As I'm doing this for 2 years, I haven't gotten every story out of you. Okay, there's more. All right, good.
You know what? Like sometimes I gotta think. I don't just have to say everything that comes to mind.
That's true.
I can be reserved. I don't have to tell no matter how self-deprecating or humorous it is, because boy, I've told my fair share of those stories. Sometimes it's okay to just be like, I could add something to this conversation, but I think I'm going to respectfully withhold.
Okay.
But
fair enough.
Do know there was some freak nasty shit.
Okay. I believe you.
Yeah, drunk off Midori.
Oh no! Oh no!
Oh no! Yeah, so
oh boy,
that was probably like 18, 19-year-old. See, I'm building the periphery of this.
I see.
So people can be like, what the fuck?
What?
Did he like?
What? Yeah. What?
Did he like warm up like a dish rag in the microwave? Like what? No, just.
Did he pull a Portnoy's complaint and use the liver that he then ate later for dinner? Yeah,
no. But just to put in, the Midori was a thing of like the people we were hanging out with. That was like the only liquor that they had. So if you can imagine like 4 or 5 people trying to split a bottle of Midori and get turned.
Hard times, brother. Yes.
When you add like the wrong like root beer flavored vodka with like Coca-Cola, just because of like.
Oh no! I'm getting heartburn just thinking about it. Yeah.
Man,
oh boy.
Did I tell you about the time that I went to a house party that was on the edge, Hazelwood and Berkeley?
No.
Cul-de-sac. It was a guy that we knew. Some long-time devout listeners of this podcast might remember the story about the guy at the house party who had the tattoo on his bicep that said "No regrets." And I asked him, "What's up with that tattoo?" And this was after we dared him he couldn't eat a whole entire block of cheese. So he's bowing down this fucking block of sharp cheddar like a pound.
Okay.
And he's just like slapping his bicep. He's like, no regrets, man. Like when you're like fucking 2 chicks at once. No regrets.
Wait, the cheese guy and the no regrets guy, that was the same guy?
That's the same person. He's just like...
The mythology behind this guy is sprawling. I love it.
I know I was MySpace friends with him. I don't think I was ever Facebook friends with him. Also the age of the story.
Yeah.
But he was one of those guys. He was a guy on the football team that was just really inoffensive. Like, that's just, like... I will say, at least for my high school, that most of the popular kids weren't assholes. They were popular because they were nice.
Well, that's something, yeah.
I mean, not that there weren't popular kids that were popular and they were huge pieces of shit, but most of the ones like who were like trying to put together like the high school reunion and all that, like all people where it's like, you were a nice guy and like, this person was nice. Like, I really don't want to interact with too many other people from high school, so it's going to be a no from me, big dog. But at least the people organizing it aren't people that, like, if they sent me a Facebook request, I'd be like,
yeah.
There's been a few of those, like, yeah, I remember, like, one person sent me a friend request from high school, and it's like, Yeah, I specifically remember you trying to like beat my ass in gym class, and like you called me a faggot and pushed me in the showers and like all this stuff. So I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna accept your friend request, brother, because apparently me and you have a different understanding of our association.
Yeah,
but what was I getting? Oh yeah, Ben.
Okay.
He had a fucking house party, and his parents were there. This would have been like 2005 or 2006.
Okay.
He lived right at the border of Berkeley and Hazelwood, on the Hazelwood side in this cul-de-sac. And Berkeley, for those who don't know, Berkeley is one of the tougher parts of St. Louis County.
Mm-hmm.
Hazelwood is not so much. There's a little bit of bleed through. Just as just same with like Floor Center, Blackjack. There's nice parts and bad parts, but Berkeley on the whole is a little rowdy.
Mm-hmm.
I would say. Because you've got like the airport part of there, you got a lot of industrial stuff. There's like a liquor store that's like a monument that, like, if you say, oh man, it's down from Frost Liquor on Hanley, people like have like, probably if they're from North County, have like a very distinct unhappy memory.
A vivid, yes.
Yeah, you might even have.
I do. Yeah, I do. Oh, I do. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, we all, everyone in North County has a Frost Liquor story.
Well, because Champagne and Ripple was because we were for some reason obsessed with Sanford and Sons, and that's where that combination came from.
Yeah.
And we're like, yeah, we want to drink that.
Sanford and Sons drink. Amazing. Real brain geniuses, you all.
Well, between that and Champagne and Alizé. Champagne and Alizé was the one Tupac mentions in Thug's Passion. So
the way you just Thug's Passion by Tupac Shakur, multi-platinum recording artist.
Yeah, I put my NPR voice on that. Was that nice?
So we're not really that far from Frost Liquor.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have a house party, and his parents were there, which also just made it weird. But his parents are always like nice.
Yeah. They were the cool parents who were like,
yeah,
drink here.
They were just like middle-aged, overweight white people in the Midwest, and they're just like, well, we just, if we figure like we're here, like it's not gonna get too out of control. But the thing is, word gets out that there's a house party.
Oh yeah,
and some Berkeley dudes show up, and it's like 40, 50 people at this party, and like vibes are all right, but being on the border between Hazelwood and Berkeley being a little bit more of a rowdy, rough spot compared to Hazelwood on the whole, like you could kind of tell these guys weren't part of our contingency. They definitely had a different vibe, and whatever. I've been to plenty of house parties in North County where like someone shows up with like their buddies, and you're like, you're like, what the fuck? And then like one dude like opens up the book bag and he's got like a fucking big ass handle like Svedka vodka, and you're like, oh okay,
oh yeah,
okay, we're speaking the same language, which is we're here to get fucked up. So whatever, and that it typically happens at most county parties in St. Louis, at least back in my day, was that eventually the word gets around and people that you maybe no one knows or only a few people know show up, and usually they're a different vibe, but they don't cause any static, and you end up actually making friends that way sometimes. So whatever. Yeah. But these dudes didn't. These dudes look like they were here to just crash the party, and some of them end up getting in a fight over something stupid. And yeah, so like the cops get called, and I'm seeing like friends of mine getting fucking waylaid by the cops, like pushed to the ground. A buddy of mine who fucking harmless guy is like in the fucking front yard of this house, fucking on his knees, hands behind his back, and he's got like 2 fucking pistols drawn on him. Yeah, like. And I just like strut out of there, like nothing. I'm just like, I got my drink in my hand, and people I know had like their parents came picked them up, because we're all between like 18, 20, 21-ish. Right. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I just like walked by with my drink, and like no one says shit to me, and people are like, what the fuck, man? Like how'd you not get fucking? I'm like, first of all, I didn't get sloppy drunk.
Well, yeah,
but What I would do back then, because I was always like thinking ahead, because the last thing I wanted to do was get in trouble.
Right.
I was always thinking about like, how am I going to avoid how am I going to keep my nuts out of the fray? And so I would buy like a 6-pack of Coke or something, Pepsi, and I would take like 1 or 2 bottles, and like I would drink half of them, and then fill the other half of those bottles with like vodka or whiskey or something.
Okay.
So I'm just walking around like I'm drinking soda, like I'm a good kid. Like I go to church, Ossifer. At one house party that I pulled this trick. It was the dead of winter, because this story I'm telling here is middle of summer. This is probably like a mid-July kind of deal.
Okay.
But same group of people, Old Town Florissant house party, dead of winter. I think it's probably like Christmas break.
Mm-hmm.
And I walked past the cops like it's nothing. Again, people I know are getting fucking handcuffed and crying. This is a fucking terrible ass scene.
Yeah.
Cops are like, if you'll go home or call your parents and shit. And I'm acting like, I'm like fucking, I'm tight. I'm cool as hell. I got the drink in my hand, and I'm thinking I'm getting off scot-free. My other friend like ran off. I could see him in his car. His car was on, and I'm like, okay, cool. There's my boy. Like, I'm just gonna go home.
Yeah.
And I fucking walk right into a tree branch. And I walk into that tree branch, and I fucking fall flat on my fucking back.
Oh no.
Eat shit. And I'm not that far from the cops. And I remember like just thinking like, oh, I hope
this is gonna be it.
This is it. This is it. I get up, and the cops is like, you good? I'm like, yeah, I'm good. Thank you. He's like, get home safe. And I'm like, all right.
Yes, sir.
And I get in my buddy's car. He drops me off at my mom's house, and I'm like shuffling in.
Yeah.
And my mom's in the living room like watching like a movie, and she's just like, "Oh, how was Syriana?"
Oh yeah.
My mom was such a killjoy that I had to like lie to her while I was like, if I was going to hang out with Brent, I had to say I was hanging out with Baker, and if I was hanging out with Baker, I had I could never be. Even as I'm almost fucking 40, and I can't be fucking truthful to my mom, because my mom doesn't even like good news.
Oh, that's not good.
But I just remember like in that one moment just being like, I don't know, I didn't really get it. Just kind of walked away.
Well, honestly, having seen the movie, you're not wrong.
Yeah, like I felt like that was a good enough answer, because I bet if my mom watched Syriana, she'd be like, yeah,
I don't
what
get
the fuck
it.
was that about?
On that note, I believe it's time for the breath mint.
Jeez, yeah, let's get there.
It's time for your mom's favorite part of the show. It's time for the breath mint.
Brian, what you got going?
A couple things.
Sure. Hit me.
Shadow the Erd Tree.
Oh, still going on that.
Still slapping my balls against that hog.
Okay.
It's good. I've really enjoyed it so far. I feel like it does not build upon the original base game enough, but it still is very enjoyable. Still a lot of creativity, still some really cool biomes and all that, but doesn't always nail the same sense of discovery and excitement that the base game had. Still some really creative boss fights, some cool new weapons. My favorite one is a long great sword called Milady.
Yeah. Yes, Milady.
That one I've found to actually be pretty useful, but that's been a main complaint people have had with the expansion, is that there's all these new items, but none of them are going to really beat the stuff you had in the base game unless you're just having fun. But I've found a few that I've enjoyed. The dueling shield is supposed to be really OP, but I can't find level 1 smithing stones. So it's stuck at like +5. I have 1 million of every other smithing stone except for the level 1.
Huh.
It's very annoying. The thing that kind of got to me was that if you play this game and the way that that's trying to shuffle you, there's only 3 or 4 legacy dungeons. It's a really short play in that respect if you're not just searching every nook and cranny. So I got all the way to the final boss, which is just handing my ass to me. Like D came home while I first got to him, And she's like, oh, wow, he looks really cool. I'm like, yeah, watch him fucking beat my ass, which he did. Like, not even get one hit.
Yeah.
Like, you can't even summon a Spirit Ash before he before he murks you. And so I'm like, well, I don't want to bang my head against this. Let me see what else is going on, what this game has to offer. And everything else I've found, like, retrace some stuff. Like, okay, this is cool. This is neat. I wish I would have found it when I was at a lower level, because now I'm just like cruising through.
Yeah.
But there's one section called the Abysmal Woods, which I originally thought was the Abysmal Swamp, and I'm like,
oh no. Yeah.
Oh wow, wow, okay, is there a Grover House?
I was gonna say yes.
But it's the Abysmal Woods, and there is a forced stealth section.
Oh no.
That sucks. I don't like forced stealth. I didn't like it 20 years ago. I didn't like it 30 years ago. I don't like it today. Thankfully, it's really short, but it's an annoying 5 or 10 minutes.
Still, yeah, not good.
But some of the bosses and some of the enemy builds, I think, are a little too tuned to only be effective with certain builds. I feel like the base game, you had a lot more leeway. If you're going up against a boss that was immune or resistant to like whatever your damage type, if you were like a bleed build or a magic build, you just have a slightly hard time, but wasn't going to be impossible.
Right.
Like there was probably still going to be some way you could work it and be smart and clever and all that. And Shadow of the Erd Tree is very fucking brutal. There were some bosses that I could only beat by like completely using upgrading weapons I never used before, upgrading Spirit Ashes I never used, and then I finally found, I get to that build and then like the boss melts and I'm like, well, this sucks. I at least wanted to challenge. I wanted to feel like because there's too many times I would get like 1 or 2 hits from a boss and just like fucking die.
Yeah.
Or I would not even get like everything fucking chugged. And I'm like, cool, I just wasted a rune arc. Because the RNG, because the AI in this game isn't very sophisticated. No.
It wasn't in the base game either. I think that's a thing to point out. Like,
yeah, and how I feel like FromSoft is compensating these things that are becoming very old and dogged is by like, well, we'll just give enemies, elite enemies and bosses, just longer chains.
Yeah, that's a complaint I've heard a lot. Yeah.
And I don't like that. I don't like having to dodge, kill my stamina bar, and then be like, okay, my entire opening I can just get 1 light hit on just like a 1 regular dude.
Yeah.
That is the argument for no more. The argument that like there should not be another Elden Ring.
Yeah.
And maybe even the argument that there shouldn't be another Soulsborne game unless you just want to get Bloodborne 2 out of the way.
I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, I would be too, but it feels like, okay, where can you take this? Because you had 2.5 some odd years to build this expansion, and it's cool, it's fun, I'm glad it exists, but aside from like adding some more depth to the weird story and some cool toys and some cool, like the cool shit, but it doesn't feel like it's reiterating or building upon what's come before enough.
Well, I don't think that's the DLC's job. I think, Dark Souls 3 had that same issue where Dark Souls 3 was a very different experience than the other ones that had come before it, and the succession of these incredibly difficult bosses leading up to Dark Eater Midir, and it felt like, yeah, we've iterated all we can on this, and now here's just something that's going to put you in the dirt for a while.
Yeah.
And that's the same way, Bloodborne's DLC, The Old Hunters, it had that same feeling when you are like, okay, the build I have from the base game is not helping me here. Whatever stuff that I had spec'd, I was like, well, I got to go back. I got to figure this out because this isn't working. And I've heard the same complaints about this, and I think it could just be how they do these DLCs, almost as it's like a way to send off this game that they're done with officially. That's kind of like, I really don't feel like they have any more room left in them to do more stuff with Elden Ring. Hopefully. Because between Elden Ring, we saw Armored Core and a return to Armored Core.
And that game had its faults, but it was really fun to get back into what that game was, or what that series has been. I feel like it harked back to the origin, the PlayStation era Armored Core games in a way that I really appreciate.
Yeah, because it moved away from 5 Verdict Day and all that stuff.
From Answer or whatever.
Yeah, in a way that worked. Both Armored Core 5 games had their own picadillos, and I think taking that particular series back more to its roots is good. And so maybe in this fantasy idea that they have, maybe we want to go back to more like a Kingsfield.
I would love to play a modern Kingsfield.
Yeah, it's kind of what I was thinking. Like, yeah, what would a modern Kingsfield look like?
That was one of the things that people were picking up off of Demon Souls when it came out. I was like, oh, this feels like really weird and mysterious in the way that Kingsfield felt, and everyone else is like, what the fuck's a Kingsfield?
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to think of, maybe it's time for a new IP. Maybe it's something that they haven't even played with before. Because they've released a bunch of stuff that runs the gamut. I mean, even the other mech game that they did, the Metal Wolf Chaos, was more of a comedy game.
Yeah.
They did 3D Dot Game Heroes, which was almost like a parody of a Legend of Zelda type of game. And so the future's wide open. They've got basically from me a blank check to do whatever. And here's hoping that they figure out something, either iterating on something they've done before or something like, well, we've never made this type of game. Maybe we should do that. I would be intrigued to see what's on their plate. So, what else is on the list?
We decided to binge The Righteous Gemstones.
Oh boy!
And that was originally a HBO series that I showed my girlfriend the first episode, and it didn't click, huh? Didn't click, but last week she's like, "Oh, what about that?" And so we watched the first season, and I just forgot how much dick's in that show.
Yeah.
And the jokes are really fucking weird. The thing that I've always maybe have disliked about The Righteous Gemstones is that you can really feel the improv background to a lot of people that are in that show, much to the show's success and much to its detriment. Well, it's either the jokes are really great to the detriment of the plot, and then the plot's either really great to the detriment of the jokes, if that makes sense. There's not really a good balance between sometimes the humor and it's what the moral or whatever it's trying to.
Yeah, I think part of that also is down to performances. Danny McBride and Edie Patterson, fucking flawless, but man, Adam Devine is so hit or miss, and a lot of his storylines that he gets
are so fucking weird.
Yeah. John Goodman can do no wrong. Walton Goggins, again, can do no wrong. Whatever he does.
The guy who plays Keith is...
Oh, Anthony Calvero, yeah.
He's so good.
But even Tim Baltz plays BJ. BJ is surprising. Every time there's a storyline that revolves around BJ, I'm like, oh yeah, that guy's actually funny in this weird, understated way. Yeah. Oh shit, yeah, okay, he's actually got something going on here. But sometimes some episodes you'll forget he's even there.
Yeah, and then
but then a plot point will hit and it'll turn on BJ being there or doing something, and you go, oh yeah, the guy's fucking funny.
It's a really funny ass character. And one of my bigger prickly points is I feel like the show could be meaner towards its subject matter.
Yeah,
which is mega church preachers.
Yeah,
because I like the idea of saying that in people that we look down upon, they may have layers and complications, and there might be a part of the human experience that we can all relate to regardless of their disposition or station. But I think it'd just be a lot more funny if we were making fun of the Falwells and the 700 Club and stuff.
Yeah, and I think
a little bit more. But I find out that Danny McBride like grew up in a church, and like his mom was like kind of like a figurehead in the congregation. Like they did puppet shows and stuff. So he like went to church feeling like the cool kid because his mom did like cool shit at the church. And I feel like there's sometimes some humor of the hypocrisy that exists in people like that gets kind of glanced over because maybe they're a little too close to the subject matter in their own personal lives.
Yeah, it's entirely possible because I mean, Danny McBride has made it a career out of deflating some of these self-righteous people, vice principals that you and I have talked about multiple times.
Quad Gambit.
or Eastbound and Down, even like the guy who thinks he's hot shit as a baseball player is really just a jack off, you know, like
fucking jeans on, ski-doo.
So like those kind of almost Trailer Park Boys type of things where you're like looking down on someone who is objectively a piece of shit is a lot easier to find the comedy. And I think here they're shooting for more a mix of comedy and pathos. And I think some of the jokes get lost when they're trying to humanize the gemstones and trying to make them sympathetic characters. Is especially Judy. Like there's a whole bit in the more recent seasons where you start to fucking feel bad for Judy.
Right.
For a minute.
You know? But there's so much stuff in the first season where she is does not realize how fucking terrible of a human being she is.
And I think that's where the tension and the comedy comes from. It's like they're being huge pieces of shit.
I feel like Kelvin and Jesse understand that they are flawed human beings.
Right.
But Judy does not have that self-awareness.
Yeah,
she's holding on to, being the girl, not getting the same respect as her siblings or her other family members. I mean, and baby brother Billy has that same feeling, but baby brother Billy is also a huge fuck up.
Yes.
One of the funniest characters in the show.
Oh, God, Walton Goggins. I mean, my God, that man.
But sometimes the joke isn't even like a traditional joke. It's just how they say something.
Right. Oh,
like,
Danny
like
McBride's...
the first episode of season 2, which we did last night. They're
was it the one who was doing the sex talk?
The sex talk is what you see. They're trying to pressure Jesse and Amber. Are trying to pressure their eldest son Gideon to talk to the youngest son Abraham because he's fucking crossed up his jockeys all over the place. He's just fucking in his room blowing cum everywhere. And we feel uncomfortable, and the way that whole delivery is great. But to me, what really and I had like my girlfriend was like looking at something on her phone, like this is the funniest part.
Yeah,
I don't think she found it as funny as I did, but it's the part where Jesse sits down. He's like, me and your mama just don't feel comfortable talking to your little brother about cum.
And man, that is really just like Danny McBride's comic timing and sensibility. He just knows when to like flip a phrase or something, like, because that's the reason Vice Principals works. That's the reason that some of the shit in Eastbound and Down works.
These are just guys I do car pranks with,
like that's gonna fool anyone. Fuck are you talking about? Shut up, Jesse. Yeah.
Or like when at the end of season 1 where Gideon goes to
was he
Haiti?
Yeah, he goes to Haiti.
And doing this like very like selfless thing, retribution for all of his transgressions and his conflicts and that get put out through the first season. And like you'd think Amber and Jesse, being parents high up in a big church congregation, would feel really great about their son going and doing
do mission
like that.
work. Yeah,
but they're like, my son ain't going to fucking Haiti. Like they're just fucking livid. They give them water.
There's this disconnect I think makes the show sing between like, you expect this, and then what you get is indignant anger about it, like fireworks going off because it is the 3rd of July,
and we are in the city.
We are indeed. Fireworks are gunshots.
Man, I'm out in fucking Hoosierville, so that shit's been popping off for like a week.
Oh, we've had it for the past couple days, but it's only gonna get worse.
The only thing I think the thing I really don't like about season 2 is Eric Andre.
Yeah, definitely a weak point, unfortunately, because I mean I've seen him in a lot of other stuff, and most other stuff I've seen him in I enjoyed it, but this is a weak point.
It feels like a miscast.
Yeah. I feel like maybe Hannibal Buress might have done a different.
I think it was also just like a weird kind of character for him to play because it's not really. It's too straight-laced.
Yeah.
And Eric Andre can do straight-laced, but he's trying to fit in this story. It's almost like he has to be the straight man character.
Yeah, because he's also acting opposite some great improvers, and so like it feels like they're restraining him from improving in scenes where he probably should have.
Yeah, he's got to be the center for everything moving around him. And also, you know what? He's a fucking megachurch preacher.
Mm-hmm.
And the first scene you see him in, he's playing guitar, and he's not playing a fucking 10-top PRS.
Well, yeah, that
was like, I hate to say it, but I saw that, I'm like, this is wrong!
Right. For the detail-oriented show that it is.
Yeah. There's no way. As someone who worked in guitar shops and had customers that were megachurch preachers, they would not be seen playing a fucking plain top Les Paul.
No.
They'd be playing some fucking gaudy ass fucking
a national,
R9 Les Paul that costs like $8 or $9 or a fucking 10 top library, type selection PRS with, fucking Ochibuke, top with mother of pearl binding, rosewood pickup rings, the rosewood neck, know.
Or a fully restored National, just full silver, like fucking,
Yeah. But it's just something like gaudy.
Yeah. And that's, I think.
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You lost me.
Yeah.
He's not playing the Custom 24.
Nope.
With a piece of fucking flame maple on the top that costs more than my car.
Uh-huh. That's fair.
I hate to sound like, one of those guys that picks out the flaws in like the scene in Terminator 2 or the T-1000s and the fucking big rig chase them through the canal. And it's like, if you really look at the way he shifts, it doesn't make sense.
He's a robot. It doesn't matter. Anything in Terminator movies can just be excused with he's a robot.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
The real answer why it doesn't look right is because he's not actually driving.
Correct. He's he's being pulled along on
I think that's how it goes. I forget, but it's
I've seen it. Yeah,
he's not actually driving that truck.
Correct.
He's
being pulled. There's a
movie magic going on there.
Yeah, he's not actually driving. There's no.
Sorry.
No truck involved.
Sorry, guys. Try going outside. I forgot how funny season 2 is, and there's a really great character development with Eli and some good distraction of what you think is going on. But it's good. It's good. It's good shit. I'm really excited to watch the rest of it with D.
I get her caught up because there's going to be another
season
one.
4. I gotta get her watching Vice Principals. I feel like Vice Principals. It's only 2 seasons. It's really sharp.
But speaking of Walton Goggins, star of both Righteous Gemstones and Vice Principals, I started watching Justified.
Oh,
I had never seen Justified. It ran for 6 fucking seasons. I didn't know a thing about it. All I knew is that, it's Timothy Oliphant, and he's a U.S. Marshal, and he goes around solving crimes or whatever. I'm like, it kind of feels like we've done this before. Timothy Oliphant especially, I'm a big fan of Deadwood, and he was the sheriff in that. And okay, I've kind of seen this before. I had not seen anything like this before. Not necessarily anything, but it is adapted from an Elmore Leonard story, which is always a good point to start from. There's an Elmore Leonard story called Fire in the Hole about a bunch of guys out in Harlan County, Kentucky. And this U.S. Marshal gets in trouble for killing a man in Miami, and so they send him back to his hometown of Harlan, Kentucky. Raylan Givens. And you will remember the name because in every fucking episode, at least 5 times, someone will say his full name. Raylan Givens, as I live and breathe, some of that shit, So the main antagonist in the show is Boyd Crowder, played by Walton Goggins. Boyd Crowder is a fascinating character because he starts out as a neo-Nazi. Fucking swastika shoulder tattoo and all. And his whole thing.
Want to know how I got this tattoo? Hating Jews.
Yeah, pretty much. And so he.
What you gonna say about it?
What you gonna say about it? And so he goes.
Go on, nerd. Get out of here.
I tell him I pay all my scientists and my researchers.
I got my calipers out there.
I make nothing. It's my
Zilch.
gift to you.
Nada.
So he's playing a very different kind of character here. He's actually playing kind of this layered, complex guy that I think is like, okay, this is really interesting. And Timothy Olyphant starts out as kind of like the straight-laced lawman, but as he gets drawn back into old family problems and all this kind of political corruption in the town where he grew up, he starts falling in with, this girl he used to like, and then it's great. It's much more layered than your typical cop show. It's definitely not propaganda. All these people that are on the U.S. Marshals Service are assholes, drunks, or both, which is great. There's entire episodes that are strictly asshole of the week is what I've been calling them.
Right.
Kinda
They're not
like,
the heavies. They're the asshole of the week.
Exactly. Like Alan Ruck shows up as this guy who used to be a accountant for the Miami mob, and then he went into hiding and went to dental school.
Amazing.
And now he's doing so. Some jack off mouths off to him at the dentist's office, so he pulls out the guy's veneers and then goes on the run with his dental assistant. And that's just like one episode. I'm in season 2 of 6 right now. I'm deeply enjoying it. Season 2 is where you get Margot Martindale, noted actress of stage and screen, as this matriarch of a Kentucky crime family. Oh, once you start going on the Margot Martindale arc, and then you've got some great character actors just coming and going from the show. It's great. I'm having a good old time. I love every time somebody, Raylan Givens, as I live, Raylan Givens, you will hear that name so many fucking times. But yeah, Justified. Boy, what a hoot. And why the fuck didn't I see this before? That was my main thing. Like, where have I been? What have I been doing?
I've heard good things about Justified.
Like anyone who likes a good crime story, I love an Elmore Leonard novel, and I've never read Fire in the Hole either. So that was like, oh, there's an Elmore Leonard I haven't read. Oh, okay, cool. But somehow they got 6 seasons of television out of it, so we'll see how far they can stretch the premise. But so far, so good. Like the most recent one I just watched, middle of season 2, Boyd Crowder, which again, Walton Goggins, doing his level best at being unreadable. It's fantastic. He's getting drawn back into a life of crime. Middle of season 1, he's decided that he's out of prison. He's going to be a preacher man. And so he sets up this Jesus camp in the middle of the woods, and that ends horribly. He's like, no, I'm going back to work in the mines. I'm going straight. Well, somebody comes in, tries to draw him back in. Well, instead of doing the crime, he instead sets them up to be killed. It's really solid work. The other thing that I did this week was I took a gamble. There's a theater chain, Marcus Theaters. Mm-hmm. They're all over, but here in Missouri, they're kind of taking over what used to be Warenberg. Well, they do something called Mystery Mondays. So 2-3 times a month, they'll put on a Monday night, a movie that's not out yet, but you can get a $5 ticket to go see whatever it is, and you just show up at the movie theater at 7 o'clock, and they do the previews, and then boom, here's your movie that you have no idea what this is. All you know is the rating and how long it is. So I did a couple guesses. I was like, oh, it's going to be this, going to be that. I wound up seeing an Apollo 11 themed rom-com called Fly Me to the Moon. Yeah. Have you?
I've heard about this.
Okay, because I hadn't heard a thing about it.
People seem to be questioning, at least online, is this the worst thing ever or the second worst thing ever?
Oh, well, see, I enjoyed it. So the basics of it is that Scarlett Johansson is an advertising executive, and she's contacted by a mysterious government agent played by Woody Harrelson, and told the Apollo mission needs your help to sell Apollo to the American people. And the launch commander is Channing Tatum. There's some great other character actors. Jim Rash from Community is in this. It's a fun little flick. It's about 2 hours. It's very interesting period stuff because it's set in 1969, obviously right before Apollo 11 takes off. And they get a lot of the cars right. They get a lot of the costuming is great. Everything kind of looks right. Even some of the NASA stuff where you'd think, oh, we don't have a lot of photos of that time period, or it looks right. For some reason, it reminds me a lot of Ron Howard's Apollo 13. They got a lot of the look right. And that goes a long way. And it's also just like funnier that it has any right to be. You'd think it would be like, okay, it's kind of a cheesy rom-com or whatever, but it's genuinely amusing. I really enjoyed it. I don't know that I would have gone to see it were it not the mystery movie. That's what I think is the most interesting part, because I don't know that it's going to do well, despite having a lot of star power that's in the cast.
Couldn't do any worse than Furiosa.
Which is a damn shame. It's one of those ones where it's kind of a pleasant surprise.
I've done that before, where I've gone to a movie not knowing really much of anything, where it's like, okay, it's got one person I like, or it's got a director I like. I don't really know anything about it. I want to see a movie. I'll go fucking see this. There's a matinee show, like whatever. I got the day off.
It feels like it's a lot harder to do that nowadays. It feels like I see a lot more about movies, but for some reason I knew nothing about this. Completely taken by surprise. I thought that it was going to be the movie Space Camp, which I had seen some stuff about. I'm like, okay, PG-13 is about 2 hours. That's got to be Space Camp, which they are coming out really close to each other too. So who knows what that's about? But that one's more like a Legally Blonde in space. But this one is definitely. It feels a very old school. It feels very much like if you'd made this movie in the 70s. You'd have Natalie Wood in the Scarlett Johansson part, and you'd have, like, not necessarily Rock Hudson, but a Rock Hudson type in the Channing Tatum part. The gruff, handsome fellow who's kind of rough around the edges. Those types of character actors. And for all its faults, which it has a few, I mean, it's a little long for a rom-com about the Apollo mission. It's 2 hours. Could have been cut down to 105. Could have been cut down to 90. But, despite all that, needle drops are good. Setting looks great. Costumes are good. It's fun to look at. Some charming, attractive people having a romance on the screen. Not a lot that you can really complain about. It's also just very silly at certain points because there's the whole subplot, and I'm sure this was spoiled in the marketing. There's a whole subplot about a Project Artemis, which was that they were going to fake the moon landing to broadcast on television alongside the audio from the actual Apollo 11 mission. Someone gets wind of that, and so they decide, well, we're going to fix it so that they actually show the real footage and not the fake that we've made. It's this great comedy of errors towards the end. It's real fun.
Yeah.
It's inoffensive. That's the thing I think is going to draw a lot of people to it. It's PG-13. It's inoffensive. There's like a kiss in the movie. The only thing that the PG-13 is going to get him for is some of the swearing. I mean, it's a fun movie. I liked it.
Sounds interesting. Okay, I might have to check that out.
Yeah. And that about does it for me. Anything else?
Yeah, I actually have two quick ones to go by.
Sure thing.
Because D has been like, you haven't talked about these movies.
Shit. Yeah.
And like, just because we have a whole entire month.
I know, yeah.
A little tough there, but so two in particular I want to talk about. One, Bottoms.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed that quite a bit.
I loved Bottoms.
That's probably the best like high school comedy since Superbad.
Yeah.
I guess we're really getting to the point where you can only make a movie like that every 10 or so years. Not overly self-aware. Has a lot of great bits.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of great characterization. Yes, this is an archetype. There's a little bit of depth, just enough.
Mm-hmm.
If everything works, it doesn't feel too artificial or too forced. Really well acted, well executed film. I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Marshawn Lynch. What did you think of Marshawn Lynch?
Fucking killed it.
I know. Isn't that weird?
I know that a lot of people were saying when that movie came out. I was like, man, he fucking killed it. He should do more stuff. Like, he's funny. Like, he's got good timing. And I think it also feels like a movie where a lot of the humor, I feel, just comes from, like, the gelling of the cast. Like, I feel like people were really feeding off each other's energy. Oh, yeah. Just a lot of great bits.
It's a vibes-based movie for the most part,
It's fun. I enjoyed it. Complete 180. When Dee's friend was visiting, he had Apple TV thing full of fucking movies, and one of them was Martyrs.
Martyrs. I have not seen this one. I've heard so much about it.
So it is an incredibly explicit European horror film, I want to say, from like 2008 or 2007. They had when I worked at Blockbuster, and it was a heavily edited version, which I do remember people complaining to me about. That was Blockbuster. But it is basically, it follows the story of a young woman who escapes this torture facility where she's just being straight up fucking tortured. There ain't no fun. She's just getting cow prod kind of shit. You know, just dang all you ain't ever gonna smile, little girl kind of shit. She is trying to have somewhat of a normal life, it appears, but she can't move past beyond this trauma. And so she enlists a friend from the orphanage that she ends up in to hunt down the family members, or the family that she believed did this to her.
Okay.
And it starts off with a fucking amazing gory scene, and there's just a lot of stuff going on. It's very intense in the way that European horror films were in the late aughts, like Record.
Yeah. Quarantine. Trying to think of another one, but yeah, those two stick out. Yeah.
But I really enjoyed it. The ending's cool. There's some stuff I really like about the ending. Has a really great kind of just final thump to it that I really enjoyed. The reveal is great. There's a couple really fantastic reveals. It keeps you on your fucking toes basically the entire movie in a way that's really admirable. It is exhausting.
Yeah.
And how tense and upsetting and explicit it can be. But I think that's a testament to the vision of the director, the work of the actors, and everyone involved. Like it's just a really well executed film.
Yeah, French horror in the early 2000s, or in the mid 2000s, was definitely a place to be, because you had that, you had High Tension. I mean, there were a few real bangers coming out of that time period. I'm very excited. I still have yet to see it. I know there was another movie called Martyrs.
It was a remake, apparently.
Was it? Oh, okay. Well, I'll pass on that.
The director, his pull quote in the Wikipedia article about the original movie is pretty damning of the remake. I had a bad contract. He's French. I had a bad contract. I didn't even get paid for it. That's really the only thing I regret in my career. That my name is now associated with such a junk film, and I didn't even get a cent for it. I tried to watch it, but only got through 20 minutes. It was like watching my mother get raped.
Oh, yeah.
Then I stopped. Raping your mother? Life is too short, and the American system of movie like Martyrs is just not possible. They saw my movie and turned it into something completely uninteresting.
Yeah. So apparently, this again, according to Wikipedia, Jordan Peele had Lupita Nyong'o watch Martyrs to prepare for her role in Us. That makes sense. Yeah. If you're gonna do it, you're gonna do it big. That about does it for the show. Do you want to tell these fine people where to find you online?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at iShotGuydBoard, ISHOTGYDBORD. You can also find me on Instagram at a music photographer. You can also find me as a music photographer and iShotGuydBoard on Blue Sky and a bunch of other platforms. I don't give a shit. If you want to check out some cool photos, if you want to check out my portfolio, it's assholemusicphotographer.com. If you want to check out some words with them photos, you can check out musicphotographer.com. If you want to check out the last only good media website in St. Louis, you can head over to the artsstl.com. And I think that's it, Jason. Where can they show you the photos of the goat man?
Do that thing at any place there's a video crime. That's going to be me. That's VIDEOCRIME, with the notable exceptions of Instagram and TikTok. There I am, Laser Goose CEO. You can contact the show in a myriad of ways. My favorite one? Giving us a call, 314-246-9766, 314-AHOY POO, if you like to spell with your telephone. Shoot us an email, Jason at 48minutesofdogsbarking.com or Brian with a Y at 48minutesofdogsbarking.com. You can also support the show, patreon.com/48minutesofdogs. There you can find our weekly post-show wrap-up and cut content we like to call Thanks I Hate It. And if we get 10 people at the $10 level, we're going to record ourselves a 90-minute commentary track for the Japanese puke fetish video Garo Monster Home Delivery. Can't wait. I cannot wait. Buckets are standing by. So you can also find me as part of the podcast submitted for the approval of the Midnight Pals, where I play a fictionalized version of Stephen King. Well, that about does it for the program. My name's Jason. This is Brian. As we always say at this time, namaste, good luck, give mommy a good gut fucking.
Eat the knife.
Eat the knife.